Wellness Warriors. Last week, I got a message from a wellness warrior letting me know that Harvard actually did a study about carnivore back in 2021. And can I tell you that I was shocked? So I looked for the study, and I finally found it, and I'm still shocked because I don't understand why no one spoke about this study before this. And I searched on YouTube, and there aren't any videos from, for example, Dr. Barry or Dr. Baker or Dr. Mutzel, even, not Dr. Michael, Mike Mutzel, that I could find on this study about carnivore that Harvard did. I couldn't even find the study on Harvard's website. So like when you go to Harvard and you search carnivore study, it's not there, but it exists. So now there's 2 meat studies. And both of the studies were self-report food questionnaires. And I want to start off by saying that there's no proof that red meat causes diabetes or prevents diabetes. That's not why I want to talk about this. I'm talking about these 2 studies because I want to point out a very important health risk that both studies actually show us and yet overlook at the same time, right? But in order for me to help you to see the health risk, I need to go over what I learned from each of these studies. So I'm going to run through this quickly. In the first study that I spoke about, which was the most recent study, so the October 2023 released study, there's 216,695 participants. And right up front in that study, they let us know that 22,000 of these participants, so 10%, become diabetic. They also let us know that the person who was in the study for the longest was in there for 36 years. They don't tell us quite what was the shortest length of time that somebody was in the study, but I'm assuming that since you only get food questionnaires between once every 2 to 4 years, the minimum length of time would have to be 2 years because otherwise they would have nothing to compare to. So I'm assuming that, but I don't know. They didn't really say. But the people were doing that, whatever, they were eating the way they were eating for 36 years on the maximum. So let's look at the slides here. Okay. So, as I just said, the thing that I find interesting here is that we get a conclusion, right? We get a conclusion that red meat isn't great, right? So heavy red meat eating is giving us 64% greater risk of diabetes, right? That's compared to those who are eating the least amount of red meat. And I want to point out that the study looked at both processed and unprocessed red meat. And what they found was that if you had processed red meat, you had 46% more risk than if you were eating like not processed. The risk was only 24% higher than the people that were eating the least amount of meat. And they don't actually tell us, though, what kinds of red meats they were eating. So they don't actually tell us what kind of foods they were eating specifically, right? It was more of a general, eating red meat, eating vegetables, eating fruit. And even that data isn't actually available for us to look at in the Harvard, what Harvard published to the public, right? If you want to see the actual study, you have to pay to see it. So I find that interesting. But there are a lot of doctors that do have access to the journals that put out this data. And so if you're a doctor, you can have it. But if you're a regular person like me, you don't get access to it. Now, I did find out because I watched Mike Mutzel, I believe, talked about how most of the people that were eating red meat were also eating the more healthy foods So like they were eating vegetables, they were more likely to work out, they were more likely to take electrolytes. So basically the healthy people who were eating less red meat were more, did I say that right? People who were eating less red meat were also more likely to be eating healthier veg and working out. And so there was a healthy user bias that Mike pointed out because he did have access to all this data. So they think that if you, and they think that if you substitute nuts and legumes, you could actually reduce your risk of getting diabetes by 30%. And they also thought that if you substituted dairy, you could reduce your risk by 22%. And these are risks, though, right? Because they say that they estimated this. It's not from the data they're getting this. They're estimating, oh, if this was done, then probably we could get a benefit. And I want to point that out because estimating something and seeing it in the data is not the same thing. And I think it's kind of sneaky that they kind of throw that in there. The first time I read through this, I missed that it said estimates. And so I was reading it with a critical eye and I missed it. I can imagine that some person that's just reading it to know, hey, what should I be doing? And they don't really have they're not looking for anything that might be fishy, wouldn't have noticed that. So I want to point out, though, that in a paragraph just one below, they turn around and say, in addition to health benefits of swapping red meat for healthy plant protein. So in the paragraph before, they say it's, an estimate, a guess, like we think this will happen. But then in the next paragraph, they say, in addition to the health benefits you're going to get from swapping red meat. So again, it's very leading and going to give people the impression that you're not only getting health benefits, but you're going to help the planet because you're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and you're going to help with climate change and provide other environmental benefits and right. But these are estimated health benefits. They're not even, okay. There's more to that piece of the puzzle. I'm going to come back to that point later because I think it's really important for us to see the flip side of that. But Harvard basically in this first study is just showing us that there is a link between, so that's what associated, there's a link between red meat and diabetes. And that compared to the next study, which had 2,029 participants, and those participants had been carnivore from somewhere between 6 months and 28 years. And the median just means like the majority of people, the number that was most in the middle was 14 months. So one thing that's interesting to me is that in this second study, which is looking at whether or not people who eat carnivore will be more likely to become diabetic, or like what happens to their health, I guess. It's a study of what health issues these people have. So 6 months to 28 years, median 14 months. To me, the median being 14 months tells me that there was a lot of people in this study that were on the beginner side, which I find interesting. Like they didn't have as much time in, right, as in the other study. But if you think about it, the other study they're both food questionnaires. The other study is population and just looking at how much red meat do they eat and what their health is like. So let's see. The next thing is, what did they eat? Okay, I'm not going to go through every single thing. This was a lot. But I want to point out that they ate 85% red meat daily. They ate eggs and high-fat dairy daily, 43% of them, right? Said they ate it daily. On pork, 13% of them, they said, had it daily, and 53% they had it weekly. And then you have poultry, 2.5% had it daily, and 38% weekly. When it came to fish, 3.5% had it daily, 36% weekly. And then you have organ meats, 42% weekly, bone broth, 52% monthly, milk, 17% weekly, 65% never. Then you have herbs and spices, 21% had it daily, which means you have that, 79% that are never having it. Salt, 36% said liberally, 64% said medium. High fat meat was 61% of people having that, and moderate fat meat were 37% of people having that. Only 2% of people were having lean meat. And what I thought was really interesting in this carnivore survey was that 54% of people were having grass-fed, grass-finished. Sorry, I got that backwards. 54% were having grocery store meat. Only 46% were having grass-fed, grass-finished. So the majority were having grocery store meat. Then we have things like coffee. 57% were coffee drinkers on a daily basis. 24% never. Tea, 12% on a daily basis. 51% never. Beer, 83% never. Low carb beer or seltzers, 86% never. Spirits, 55% never. Wine, 57% never. So, I mean, like, and the ones who were drinking wine, only 11% were having it weekly, 11% daily. The same thing for spirits, only 0.5% were having it daily. So almost no one. 10% weekly, 34.5% of people were having it sparingly. And when we go to low carb stuff, like low carb seltzers and beers, we had 14% having it occasionally, it looks like. So electrolyte usage, so supplements, 59% never, which I was surprised by that because, well, you'd think if you're only eating one thing, people would be afraid and be taking electrolytes, but nope. So you have 17% were taking electrolytes daily, 24% a few times per year, which I would imagine is if you have some kind of issue. And the people doing carnivore reported that 81% of them were doing, I guess, oscillating between OMAD and 2MAD, so they kind of go back and forth, OMAD, 2MAD. There were 64% that said that they were strictly 2MAD, so 2 meals a day, and 17% that were strictly OMAD, 1 meal a day. And then you had 17% that were eating 3 meals a day on carnivore. 2% said that they ate less than once a day. So I'm assuming those are the every other day eaters. So 100% of diabetics came after injectable medications. 92% of diabetics came off insulin, and 84% of diabetics came off all oral medications. I find this fascinating. Their CRP markers improved, 90% improved in all diseases. So 90% of people improved across the board, whatever was ailing them. I find that fascinating. You're going to know why in a moment. So the compliance is another piece of the puzzle that I find fascinating because 89% never ate a legume, which would be nuts and seeds and those kind of things, right? Like 79% never ate any grains, and 74% never ate a starchy vegetable. Now, why I find this, 69% never ate a non-starchy vegetable. 66% never ate a fruit. 57% never consumed high-fat dairy. 65% never consumed milk. Why I find all that pretty amazing is if we go back to the study that was done more recently, right? It pointed out that you could improve health by replacing it with plant protein. And you're trying to get a 24% improvement, I think it was, for the dairy, and a 46% improvement, I think it was, for the plant protein. We had 90% of people got off all medication, and they weren't touching, and majority of them were not touching legumes or dairy products. Are we confused? Because I'm confused. That, when I compared the two studies and saw that, I became confused. And that's when I noted they estimate that this would help you. Well, you're estimating that it would help me, but your data from 2 years previously did not estimate that it helped. Actually, it showed that most people weren't eating those things, and just by eating meat products improved their health. Okay. So I want to ask you this question. Why talk about greenhouse gases? Right? Why do they put this line in there talking about greenhouse gases? It has nothing to do with our health, right? This is supposed to be a health survey, human health. But they're talking about, if you want to help climate change and provide other environmental factors, and in addition, but that's not what it said, right? Because it said it's an estimated. Why are they doing that, Wellness Warrior? It's because it's smoke and mirrors. If you had the slightest hesitation, question mark about that 10% of people becoming diabetic, because I thought the 10% was an impressive number when I first talked about the article in my first video, but then seeing 90% of people across the board improve their health eating meat, red meat nonetheless. Yeah, I'm really confused. Now, if we go back to that list of foods, okay, wait, let me finish this point first. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, smoke and mirrors, right? If you don't care or you don't believe them, some people love red meat too much to give it up. That's not even true. I don't think that there's anybody who loves it too much to give it up, but they might not care enough about their health to give it up. I'm going to say that. You have people that are smoking, that are drinking, so then are they going to not eat red meat? So if that's not the thing that's because if you don't care about your health enough to give up the red meat, might you care enough about the planet? The planet that your children and your grandchildren are going to inherit, that maybe you'd stop eating that red meat, right? Maybe you might, yeah. Oh my goodness. What about our health though? So they don't really care about our health. It's so frustrating. I'm looking at these two studies, and the health risk that is very evident to me, that I think most people are having a hard time to see when you look at these two studies beside each other, is that they don't have a lot to back up this claim that red meat is linked to diabetes. Right? There's a 10% of people that became diabetic, but was it a direct reason? But they released a press release for this article. So you'll notice that the one that says there's an association is from Harvard. I could not find one from Harvard for the study that showed that actually it could be good for you to eat red meat. I had to go to Dr. Kilt's website to find it, and then I was able to go to find the link to the actual article. But I'm giving him credit, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have found the link to the original article, which was buried in a research publication. Now, lucky for us that research publication is open to the public. But when I searched for the actual study, I still haven't been able to get that publication to pop up on my screen. So as a normal person looking for a study that I know exists, I couldn't find it by going to Google and searching for it, but I could find his. So thank you to Dr. Kiltz for having put that study in front of my face. That's Harvard study that Dr. Kiltz is talking about, that shows that red meat allowed people, 90% of people, to resolve disease. 100% of B people to get off injectable medications got zero press. That is the health issue that I see, because the stuff, the data, the information that would actually help the population improve their health, no press release. We have to search and scavenge to find that information. And only if a doctor happened to notice it and put it up like this doctor did, do we even have access? But a study that shows 10% of people became diabetic. I wonder what the population rate of becoming diabetic is, Wellness Warrior, over the course of 36 years. I wonder if, let me just take a quick look, like what percentage, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to find this but I'm just kind of curious, of the population would become diabetic over 36 years. I don't know, if I put through over 36 years, it might be harder for me to see, right? But, 10.5% of the U.S. population back in 2020, national diabetes statistics. That's just run of the mill. It seems from that was a quick search. I didn't even believe I was going to do that. I just decided to do it right now. Now, if the normal population becomes diabetic at 10% typically, and then this study shows that 10% became diabetic, is that not just the normal population versus this study showing that 90% of people improved their health, and 100% got off all injectables. Why isn't this a press release? The estimates in the 2023 are trying to predict something, and trying to say that eating plant protein is going to help your health and save you from this dangerous red meat. And they're predicting it. They're estimating that we think this is what's going to happen. But what bothers me, Wellness Warrior, is that they did not look at chicken. Right? Is it better for us to eat chicken? Would it have been better for us to eat fish? Right? That 2021 study had such great results with showing not only that people were eating red meat, they were eating white meats, and they were eating fish, and they were eating eggs, and high-fat dairy was for sure there. Why didn't they show us them eating or do a study to see, well, what happens if you eat white meats? Right? And I can say with all kind of confidence that they don't want us to know, right? They don't want us to know that eating red meat is healthy. They don't want us to know that they're actually trying to prove a link between red meat and diabetes. This wasn't a regular survey that they did to say, hey, let's take a look and see what's happening. I think it was a survey where they were trying to show that, no, there is a connection between red meat and diabetes in the 2023 survey. And the reason I say that with so much confidence is because they show that word, right? Hold on a second. I lost my little, there it is. Gotta get to it. Okay. They show this, right? That estimated word. Right? They were trying to show us that there is a link. They aren't trying to find out if white meat's going to help you, if fish is going to, they're trying to show us, hey, if you eat plant protein, we're guessing it's going to be better for you, right? They didn't even propose, hey, maybe fish. Hey, maybe chicken. Plant protein is not even in the same realm, in the same world, right, as a chicken. Or we need a certain I'm so frustrated right now, Wellness Warrior, because this is clearly them trying to trigger. This is why we need to share our stories about eating healthy, whether it's keto, carnivore, like how eating healthy has saved our health, improved our health, made us have more energy. This is why we need to share our stories. I'm going to let you know that I have a link. If you would like to have a conversation with me so you can share your story with other wellness warriors, there's a link in the description that we can get in contact, because this is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that we don't look at, we jump from red meat to plant protein, not red meat to white meat or to fish. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's frustrating as no get out for me to know that we have good data about what is healthy for humans. And this data goes back to the 1900s, to the 1800s. Like, we've had data about the amino acid profile that humans need. So the proteins that human needs, and plant protein is notoriously incomplete for us to get proper growth, for us to get good health. Plant proteins do not cut it. And we've known that for decades. And yet, every time there's a study, they're trying to get us to eat plant protein instead of healthy animal protein. And even in this study, where they see the outcome, and they see that what happened was that we were able to get off most medications, that everybody's health improved, still, they're saying in the next follow-up study on the same topic that I could find, no, we need to be doing plant protein. We should be insulted. You should be insulted that that's where they went next. Why not do some kind of real research where you manipulate the situation like over a period of time? White meat versus red meat, right? Or really get some people in. Okay, you're a stated carnivore and you have stated vegetarian, vegans. Keep them like in a situation for, let's say, a month even. Measure markers at the beginning of the month, measure markers at the end of the month, and see, are they going in a good I don't know. There must be a way to do some actual research where we can draw conclusions that doesn't ruin people's lives by making them unhealthy for years. As a matter of fact, I remember watching, and I want to talk about this video, and I keep not, there's a video by this, I believe he's British guy that, and what's the name of the video? I'm not going to remember right now. But he did, I want to say it was 6 months of eating a typical diet of what the standard person is eating. So trying to get the amount of sugar that they're telling people to eat. His health deteriorated within, I believe it was the first 2 months or even a month. I can't remember exactly right now, but I really do want to make a video talking about the results that he came to, the conclusions that he came to in that video. Because again, it doesn't take long. And I think that we are to go from healthy to unhealthy markers, just signals that your body starts sending out like, hey, what's happening, doesn't take long. But we're not doing that research. We keep trying to push plant proteins. I'm repeating myself. I mean, Dr. Barry keeps asking us to eat a proper human diet, Wellness Warrior. And I'm using his name right now on that proper human diet thing, because when he says proper human diet, and anyone who's been following him has seen his change going from a person who was eating standard diet and realizing keto was the way, to turning around and being a person who even is pushing that maybe carnivore is actually the way. Proper human diet. What were humans actually eating way back before we had the ability to create all the stuff that we create? And I feel like we don't even realize that because we have this ability to create all the stuff that we create, we keep pushing stuff into our bodies that seriously shouldn't be there, first of all. Not even just talking about food at this point. I mean, we drink too much and we use substances that we shouldn't be using. We're allowing things into our body that are damaging, harmful, not good for us. We need to stop. We just need to stop. Right? And I know it's hard. I know it's hard because I did it. So let me just start there. I know it's hard because I did it. When I had the pain in my hip and realized that carbohydrates was what was causing that pain, not only in my hip, but inflammation in general, so body pain. And I decided, I'm going to do this. I'm going to eat healthy. It was not easy. It's not like I just started eating and was fine. No, I had withdrawal. It was hard because withdrawal means that there's an addiction there. And I didn't even know that was possible. Wellness Warrior, I'm encouraging you to not let companies fund research, because I can't imagine how this wasn't funded by a company, to trick us into eating the wrong things. And it's hard to change, but the change is so worth it. The fact that, I don't even know how long I've been sitting here talking to you. I've been talking to you for 31 minutes. So theoretically, had I not made this change, I'd have had about 14 minutes left in my ability to sit here before I'd be in trouble. And you guys have been with me in live streams where we've sat, and I've sat here for 2 hours on one of them. No problem. Right? I wouldn't have been able to do that 6 years ago. I need us to understand that this is serious. This is your health we're talking about. And the food you eat absolutely matters. And the research about the food we're eating and the recommendations that they are making, if they're not in line with what's healthy for us, then the biggest risk factor that we have is listening to poor quality research. Right? Is allowing them to continue to fund surveys rather than putting some real energy behind. But do we even need to put the energy behind what we've known for more than 200 years, that we do well on meat? I don't think we do. I think we need to stop eating poor quality meat. I think we need to stop poisoning the animals that we're eating by feeding them the wrong things. And I think that we need to be on track. You might have trouble staying on track. You might need some support, and maybe you need to eat a certain way, but the people around you disagree. Maybe the people around you are not ready to make a change. If that's the case, I encourage you to come over to wellnesssquad.org, and that's where you'll be able to have good support, right? Because if you're at wellnesssquad.org, let me just put it up on the screen here for you. It's all about having good health. It's all about having support to do what you need to do, right? I'm so invested in helping you guys to see this. Like, this made me angry today. It made me, well, not today, 2 days for last week when I found it, it made me angry because it's not necessary. Right? We are already overeating carbohydrates. You don't have to lie to us, right? But they want to get every single one of us, even those of us who might be considering doing something healthier. Nope, you need to stay here with us and eat the wrong thing. It doesn't make sense. All right? It's part of the reason that I decided to make a course to help people because we know what we're supposed to do, Wellness Warrior. We know we're supposed to eat healthy. What we don't know is how to keep our mind straight and eat the right way when you have so much of this coming at us. Right? We're constantly being attacked by eat the wrong thing. Right? So I'm creating this course. There's going to be a beta version coming soon. I hope to have it ready for you guys before the end of the December, so we can go get through the holidays in a healthy way. And if you guys want to be part of the beta version of the course, you can let me know join the Wellness Squad. That's where I'm going to let people know when the beta version is coming out. So there's so much that can be done. I don't know why they're not doing it. So we need to take care of ourselves. We need to push for ourselves together. We need to do this together. Because if we don't do it together, I've said this before, if you don't decide what you're going to eat, they're going to decide for you. right? And look at what it is. It's not going to be good. And as a matter of fact, I'll add to that, that it's not about just deciding to eat. If you need to learn how to love what you're eating, that healthy food that you're eating, you need to learn how to love that so that you're not tempted by the garbage that they're going to keep trying to put in front of your face because look, the rest of the world's eating it. Why aren't you? We know better. I'm going to link to the playlist about perfectionism. I think that's a great video to watch that's going to help you guys to let go of some of these things that stop us from being able to eat healthy regularly, repeatedly, because we need to learn to enjoy our healthy food so we can eat healthy all the time. So Wellness Warrior, I really want to encourage all of you. Have a great week. I can't wait to talk to you again on Monday. And check the link for the video. Talk to you soon.